Cameraman on there.
Are we rolling? We are on air.
All right, 2:02, the meeting will come to order. We have 4 speakers. No guest speakers.
Joseph.
Okay. Let's have a moment of silent meditation, please. Okay, there's no public comment, obviously. So,
Right.
the next item on the agenda is a program agenda. Is there any comments about?
Mr. President, I would like to suggest there is a change. It is under number 7, new business, B, I. There is no proposed 2020 budget adjustment needed for this year. Not until November. We were ahead of ourselves.
Thank you. Any other comments about the agenda? Anyone?
I recommend we approve the agenda, move to approve the agenda with the elimination of item 7, I proposed 2020 budget adjustment.
Second motion.
Moved and seconded that we approve the agenda with the change. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Okay, we have 2 sets of minutes to approve. First is a draft of the regular board meeting, the Zoom meeting of July 27th. We should have the minutes in there somewhere.
Kathy does apologize. That's all I want to say. Isn't that right, Kathy?
We'll just have those number of pages in there.
Yeah. It was a July 27th Zoom video conference.
Oh, okay.
Any comments about the July 27th agenda, the minutes?
No.
Nope.
Everybody approves, let's have a motion to approve it.
I move we approve the Zoom video meeting from 27th.
Second.
I second.
We moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the July 27th meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed? That's approved. Next item is the draft of the call meeting of August 6th, which is also a Zoom meeting.
Short read.
It was okay.
Everybody got it?
You said they called me?
It's the meeting of August 6th.
August 6th.
Call meeting. We'll Zoom,
Thank you. Okay.
Chairman, I move we accept the minutes for the August 6th meeting as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the August 6th meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda, item 6, is unfinished business statement regarding the Black Lives Matter movement.
This is me. I sent an email to the board on August 5th, 4:39 p.m. And Samantha had worked on a statement and had been reworded just a bit by Ms. Turner. And before we moved forward with that, we had Mr. Tebby had brought up concerns whether or not we could go through with the actual statement because it might be considered an endorsement which may or may not be considered an illegal donation of public funds. And at that point, I called the state library and talked to the assistant state librarian, and she had the same type of concerns. At that point, as I stated in the email, I reached out to both attorneys with our governing agencies, the city and the parish. I've yet to receive any type of feedback from either one of those organizations. Mr. Johnson did put forth to the Ethics Commission at the state, but they will not actually rule on that until October 2nd. So, I did have a slight discussion with the gentleman whose name is Dr. Michael Hicks. You might remember him. I have hired him for our anti-racism audit of our board-approved policies, and I'll let him speak for himself later on, whether or not a statement is relevant to that and the other. But what he did say that I found compelling, he says, you are a board, a policy approving board, and he says statements don't necessarily fall into your tree group, so he said perhaps a policy would be better. So with some effort, I came up with an SML, anti-racism, equity, diversity, and inclusion policy for you to consider. Yes, sir. And again, if you would, let me read to you the last sentence of the first paragraph of our statement that Samantha had drafted. It says, basically, Shreve Memorial Library's Board of Control affirms and is committed to fighting against racism in our communities, our institutions, our policies, our practices, and our behaviors. And if you will take a look at the policy, I do believe it addresses each one of those points. Again, I know it's our procedure to introduce these at one meeting and vote on them at the next, so this is just an introduction. I'll read it for the record. It basically says, the purpose of this policy is to express the commitment of Shreve Memorial Library, further known as the Library, to anti-racism, equity, diversity, and inclusion through the adoption of library policies and practices that provide opportunities for every person in our community and organization to thrive. The scope of the policy applies to all library staff and volunteers, including members of boards associated with the library, and all customer-facing library policies, practices, and activities. The implementation of the library, 1, adheres to the principles of anti-racism, equity, diversity, and inclusion. 2, seeks to identify and recognize barriers to equity and applies expertise, best practices to dismantle barriers within the organization and in the services provided. You can read the rest of that one. Number 3, embraces racial equity and social justice as core principles to reimagine policies and practices. Number 4, invest in providing the public and staff opportunities for growth through equitable access to employment opportunities, educational opportunities, skills, training, and he goes on to list quite a few other things there. Number 5, actively examines organizational and personal biases and prejudices that perpetuate systems of oppression and seek to eliminate discrimination within the library and the communities we serve. The next one, meaningful, engages, directly consults, listens to diverse, underrepresented, marginalized communities in the development, delivery, and evaluation of library services. Next, commits to creating a safe workplace environment which employees' voices are included, heard, valued, and treated with respect. And last but not least, commits to providing a safe place for members of the public to utilize library services with respect and without fear of discrimination. Having talked to several of the administrative team, we have no doubts that this is a good policy and something that we could move forward with as far as implementation immediately. So this time I propose that perhaps instead of a Black Lives Matter statement, we consider anti-racism policy at this time. Not asking for a vote today, but at least recognize an opportunity here to move forward with this actually do something that be worthwhile. A statement is a statement, but a policy is something that we can work with.
I like it.
Comments,
I like it.
questions?
I think it covers everything necessary.
Well, since we're minus 2 board members at this time, it wouldn't hurt to wait till next time if y'all want to vote on it, if y'all want to vote on it. That's up to you, I'll let you guys discuss that.
What's your pleasure?
I believe we get, I mean, I like it, everybody, if everybody like it, I think we need to go on and vote on it.
I think we should go on, yeah.
Afterwards.
Okay. Need a motion to approve this anti-racism policy.
I move that we accept the, Free Memorial Library anti-racism policy, diversity, and inclusive policy to be added to our.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept and implement the anti-racism policy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed, motion carries.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, we have old business, unfinished business. Next item is new business. A is the personnel committee report and recommendations.
Okay, the personnel committee met and we discussed the proposed personnel recommendation that's included in the budget. We actually made a mistake and voted, but we realized later we did not have a quorum because Neil was the president and therefore not a voting member. However, the meeting was streamed. There's been no comment, no objection, and I think we should move forward with this proposed recommendation. It appears on page 18 of your budget. Basically, we're agreeing with the budget as presented that there'll be no new positions and the vacant positions will be frozen until they can be later reviewed by the administrative team. We will have no changes to entry level salaries, and so everything really remains the same.
Dottie, did you get your list of frozen positions?
I did, I have, okay, when we was discussing on our, the committee, and, John, mentioned about that they're not gonna replace, but they have essential workers, and I just wanna make sure, since this pandemic, all is, everything is essential. And the
Yeah.
ones who clean the buildings, those are most essential. And then I just asked for a list, and he did give me the list of the people that, that they may not replace. And like one of them was 40-hour library tech and drawing, 40 hours, you know, those are the ones that someone leaves and they're not replaced. So I just needed that list. I don't know if anybody else needed, but it's about different.
14?
About, wait. About 16 of them. are-
Okay, 16, and 4 of them are full-time, the rest of them are part-time.
So, that's okay.
And again, as we see whether or not the economic situation in the upcoming year is better than what's perhaps predicted, we can unfreeze those positions. And if the economic goes south, oh well, again, the position's gonna have to remain frozen. Again, it's just not the salaries, remember, that go along with that, the full-time and 20 hours are on pension, kind of
Right, have an
decide they
option.
have the option. So each one of those that decide, that's 30% on top of all the other things, and the health insurance and all that. So this is gonna be an ongoing battle for us, trying to deal with the 30% pension. I've yet to run into anybody else has to deal with 30%.
Okay, and I would like for the whole board to get this copy.
We can
So
do
that
that.
way you can, see what, jobs that are frozen right now, you know, so I think.
Ms. Mortenberry, make a copy, please.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a discussion or comments on the personnel committee? Thank you very much for your report. Finance committee is next.
The finance committee first met on Thursday, the 24th at 10 p.m. For lack of a quorum, the meeting was rescheduled for today at 1:30, where we did have a full quorum. After a review of the budget and explanation of some of the major changes in the budget, the motion was made by Don Wood and seconded by Josephine Wade to recommend to the full board the approval of the 2021 operating budget as presented.
Any questions about the finance committee or comments? Okay.
Now you actually have to pass it.
What?
Now you actually have to vote to pass
Yeah,
it.
now we need a vote.
It's not on the agenda. Should it be on the agenda?
You heard that, didn't you, Kathy? I thought you did.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've got to vote on this and approve it, so if there's no comments or any other things to say about the budget, let's go ahead and get a motion to approve the budget.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So a second?
She second.
Okay. The vote is seconded that we approve the budget as presented to the board for 2021. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All opposed, the budget is approved.
Who seconded?
Julia. No, since it wasn't
There's no personnel.
on the right, didn't meet the right day.
There's nothing to prove there. Okay, next item on the agenda is the nominating committee to elect the president for next year.
But you skipped proposed changes to bylaws.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll move through those quickly. The tuition reimbursement committee, we would like to add, in fact, it's necessary to add another staff member. Make sure I'm looking at the right one, yes. From one support staff person, we would like to add another. That way we would make the tuition assistant committee would be made up of one board member, one professional librarian, and two support staff persons, along with the training and development coordinator. So we would be adding one staff person to that. So that is that recommendation. Of course, again, you can decide to vote or not today, and I can stop there if you like, or plow into the next one.
Okay, to approve that, we will need to amend the bylaws to the Article 5, paragraph 2, we have a copy of the bylaws. And that just names the, lays out the positions that are over the training and development committee. So, it's,
I thought we had to, for a bylaws change, we had to present it at one meeting and vote the next. Is that correct?
It never hurts my feelings. It won't sit here and hurt my feelings. So go one more, but I've got the bylaws right here. Let me take a quick look at it.
well, either way, that's still the paragraph that's going to be changed. So you're approving this.
It's on page 7 of the bylaws.
Look at you.
Well, the change is on page 7.
Yeah. Well, I thought you'd already found the bylaw
No,
rule.
I haven't. I thought that was correct.
That would be normally where Kathy would type in.
All right, Kathy.
I did not see a section on amending the bylaws. So Article 10, last page. So we do, wait for next meeting.
Ah, found it.
Which action do
Article 10.
In fact, it's so important, it stands alone all by itself. These bylaws may be amended at any regular meeting of the board by a vote proposed, provided the proposed minute was presented in one meeting, stated in the call for the next meeting, and ratified by the majority of the quorum present. So you'll have to wait until next time.
So any questions about that proposed motion bylaws? The next proposed change, oh, sorry.
I just have a quick question. Was that discussed at the special call board meeting in August? Because that is where this whole suggestion came up.
Yes, it may have been discussed, but I don't think I rewrote it. So be safe. No, we didn't actually hand out paper.
Gotcha.
Nice try though. I like the way you think. Well,
That's also, the review committee is the next proposed change to the bylaws. Go with that.
This is in response to our hiring Dr. Michael Hicks to go along with our anti-racism audit of all the board-approved policies. And this is the next step in that procedure, which will allow us to regularly take a look at all board-approved policies on it. It's not that we don't already do it. I do it more often than annually, to be honest with you. But it wouldn't hurt to have an actual committee made up of the board doing it also in conjunction with me and other staff members. So that's basically what this does, is creates a committee that allows us to move forward with an annual review, and any new policies or updates that would come forth, we need to go through that review committee, and you know, we can make that as complicated as we'd like. There are some changes to policies that are, you know, just like the one one just before here, the example where we changed one word and that was it. So those would be easy enough to send to the committee by email, and they can have an email discussion and present it to the next board meeting. That annual review, I suspect, would be a couple of in-meeting committee meetings on a regular basis, at least once a year, I would recommend. I sit down once a year and look at them. But it wouldn't hurt us. We do have quite a few of them, so it wouldn't hurt to do it maybe once every 2 years. But once the committee is actually created, then the committee chair and the board president can decide all the super details each year. You know, one committee member, one year they may decide one meeting is sufficient, and then the next year, the chair may decide that they want to do it every quarter. So that gives us flexibility in doing that.
Comments, questions? Anyone?
I'll make one comment. I thought it was very appropriate to put in there that to serve on that committee, you had to have been serving on the full-time board for 2 years. I thought that was a very good point to make.
I think that allows for those individuals that serve on the review committee have had an opportunity to see how the board and the library system actually work, and it'll help you in making those decisions. So.
Okay, these two changes will be on the agenda for the next board meeting to approve. All right, 7T is next.
Yes, nominating. I was just mentioning nominating.
Yes, nominating. As you may remember, the president is nominated, I nominate the president for the next year, 2021. The candidates are recommended by the nominating committee. The nominating committee is elected by the board, not appointed by the president. So we need 3 people to serve as a nominating committee for the 2021 officers.
Can I make a statement?
Pardon?
Can I make a statement?
Yes.
You do that? And I'm just thinking about this, I don't know if anybody else agreed to it. Cause of COVID, and then we had just elected, did we just elect everybody in January? Who was the new? And in cause of COVID, we've been out so young. And I just don't think the officers we have had a chance to really serve. And this is just me, I just think that we just need to just keep those officers in, because, we've been out so long, and it just, it's just my recommendation, that we just keep the officers in right now until another year. That's just me.
Sounds like somebody's volunteering for the nominating committee.
No, I'm just saying, that you need to nominate committee.
What you looking at me for?
I don't think we need to nominate, I'm just saying, I just think that we just need to, just keep, that's just me, keep the officers, y'all understand what I'm saying?
I let you're the chairman.
I'm the chairman of the committee. I'm just saying, what y'all think about that? That's just me talking.
I think we should have the nominating committee, because that's part of our policy and procedure, to have a nominating committee, even if we nominate the same one
Okay.
every year. I think it would be nice to go through the procedure. Someone may contact the nominating committee and want to serve in a different post,
Yeah.
so give them that opportunity.
Well,
That's just my feeling.
No, it's not
Thank you.
good.
Is that how it goes?
Well,
River Committee?
I'm old, because I don't want a position, I don't want a position, yeah, I'll be old, because I do not want.
That's how you guarantee you're not gonna get a
Thank
position
you,
by
that's it,
being on the
okay,
committee.
he said I don't want to hold on to it.
I'll do it.
Thomas, volunteer, Julie.
Wanna do it?
Yeah.
I've done it. Have you?
I'm chairman,
I don't care.
I'll chair. Julia would do it.
I'll do it.
Oh, I was just saying, I can do it, I'll chair, that's it.
Donnie Bell, Julie Gagan, Tom David are the committee members.
Okay. That's it.
Y'all can, when you meet you, elect your chairman. And then we'll vote on whoever y'all nominated for the next meeting.
Okay.
It's the last meeting of the year. All right, next is the director's updates.
You have my report, I hope. Just point out a couple of things to you. It was a glorious sight to see school board represented, the city's IT department represented, the parish represented, the library represented, and the community foundation represented, all sitting down at two different meetings to work on our wide area Wi-Fi plan. We are seeing the need for such in this school year as it rolls out, and we are doing some very interesting things to find money and to do mapping. I want to thank the school board for loaning us their school buses so that we could put our little Raspberry Pi sniffers on them. So as they drive around the parish, every other minute or so, they stop and take a GPS recording and sniff the Wi-Fi and make a record of it and then download it every night. So we are creating, thanks to Keith Hansen in the city's IT department, our own Wi-Fi map of the parish. We've already been doing such with the garbage trucks inside the city limit. The garbage trucks, they go everywhere. They got little Wi-Fi sniffers on their dashboard, and every night they take that information off, download it up into a database, and he is creating a wonderful map of our parish that shows who has Wi-Fi and who doesn't, where the strengths are and where the weaknesses are. And so we're using that information to leverage various different things, but we are moving forward with any luck. Sometime next year we will start rolling out some Wi-Fi for our users. It's really not as expensive as we thought it would be. All we really need is my friend back there operating the camera. It's going to drive him a little crazy, but other than that, the rest of everybody's going to enjoy it. Greg's hair may be a little darker or gray next time you see him, but anyway, we are moving forward with that because when you take a look at the city's rec centers and the library locations, and then when you get out into the parish and you start looking at library locations and office spaces and stuff of that nature, we could do a pretty good blanket. We won't be able to get out where some of you live, but inside the villages, in towns, and our city, and along the major highways, we will be I mean, it won't be the greatest Wi-Fi, it won't be totally free, it will, what's the word, filtered, yes. you know, no sex, no gratuitous violence, and things of that nature, but nothing we're not used to. So anyway, very, very happy about that. I do have another meeting with Dr. Hicks on the anti-racism audit this Friday. He has finished his first preliminary readings, and I hope to have him meet with our library leadership team and then have him speak to you guys in November. We have, as of today, if you're not aware, we switched into phase 3 of the pandemic openings. We've opened our branches back up to their normal hours, except for Sunday hours at this time. We haven't seen the need for Sunday hours. We do have sneeze guards, for lack of a better term, at every point of access in our buildings out there, and we have we've really done away with the CDC's cleaning guidelines, and we've created the SML cleaning guidelines, which are far more robust, and have staff members cleaning every 3 hours on the clock, in addition to what our cleaning crews are doing. So with that going on, we are having, we'll see how it works, but it should be a better setup, we're sure. And let's see, other than that, very interesting things. We did have our very first graduation. I don't want to steal all the thunder from the Human Resources Department, but our what we call our Emergent Leaders Program, otherwise known affectionately as the SML University, had its very first graduating cohorts the other day. And I got to play master of ceremony, so they wouldn't let me tell bad jokes, but Neil got to play. Yeah, there you go. You got to give the commencement speech.
Yes.
Anyway, just to let you know, I know my report says budget review through July, but after I wrote the report, Jim got me the budget report through August 31st. And so far this year, there's nothing serious to be concerned about at this time. Other than Susan will tell you, supplies is always something to be worried about in the middle of the pandemic. So we are closely watching that, and I can almost promise you another budget adjustment in November for the supplies. Other than that, that's all I have to share with you today.
Yes, sir. Public services update? Yes.
Oh, you have a question?
Quick question, I think you may have already hit it. Ballpark on how much has been spent on COVID sanitizing?
I'd say more than $75,000 between partitions, gloves, masks, and all that kind of stuff.
Does that include each time there's exposure? I know we have to do a special.
Oh, no. That doesn't
What's the ballpark
include.
on that?
We are utilizing our current arrangement with our cleaning services to tackle that.
So it's falling under that
Yes.
agreement?
Yes.
They have,
There's got to be an increase on what that agreement is that right?
actually, the nickel bearers have been very generous.
So they're working within our
They are
current
working within
negotiations.
our
Yes, we are structuring it.
Excellent, very good. Hats off to them.
Hats off to them. They were able to find disinfectant when we couldn't, so hats off to them.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Yancy, you're up.
Okay, you have my report, and John stole my highlight. But I will add that, in addition to our resuming normal hours today, branches with study rooms are also allowing study room use at a limited capacity. Any questions about our report?
Okay. Yeah, I said, but they, I don't know if the school boards permitted, they got having field trips, huh?
Field trips, you mean library?
I don't, and I don't think the school board is going to, right now, I don't think they have. field
No,
trips.
we have virtual field trips.
Yeah, first one, I don't think, okay, I got you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, support services update, Jenny?
Well, and again, John's stealing everyone's thunder today. But I'll add to what he said in that we have just started our second SML University class with 6 students. They had their first meeting last Thursday. And if you have any other questions from our report, which you should have received, just let me know.
Any questions, comments? That was it, Judy?
I'm sorry?
That was it?
That was, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, fiscal services and risk management, Susan.
As you know, we got the $500,000 grant from the Public Service Commission to improve LED lighting. We're making progress and moving through that. We're hoping to spend the money and do the lighting conversions before the end of the year. That's a really ambitious goal, but we're trying to line everything up and make that happen. We're on West Shreveport right now. We're trying to focus on some of the smaller community libraries first. The next thing is Coveted Supplies. We are really working hard to find the gloves, the wipes, all the hand sanitizers and all that normal stuff that we don't normally have to buy and supply. And so because of the governor's proclamation, suspending some of the purchasing rules, we've been able to buy from different vendors and put our hands on it. You know, maybe this month it's this vendor, but next month we find wipes at another vendor. So we're still able to keep our supply going on that. We haven't run out of anything. And in a week, we're going to be applying for a governmental reimbursement of our expenses. Keep your fingers crossed that there's enough money, that we'll get some money out of this reimbursed. So that's what we're working on now. We've got 3 roofs that we're working on. Some David Rains, and I forgot the other 2, Hollywood Union.
And the rumors are true. There is a lake in the middle of Moortown.
No, it's a separate.
No, the lake.
Yeah, unfortunately, they pumped 280 gallons of water out of there this morning.
Out of the library?
Out of the library. We have the roof that was in need of repair, that was damaged, it's been patched. The patch didn't hold. This rainy season is a really big hole, and it is causing us some headaches. That's why they're curbside only. And we've got the roofing contractors on there, trust me, but still, whatever's going wrong with Moortown. I don't know if it was the bats that caused it or what, but I mean, this poor building has just been, from the bats earlier this year now to a rain leak that just won't stop.
This is the 3rd time.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, since the previous damage, the books and other perishable.
Oh, no, it's coming right down on the front door and spreads out, so it's not near anywhere the books or anything. The only thing that's really in danger is our security system, because all the electronics and stuff are right there with that. So other than that, but I'm not worried about books so much because books can be replaced inexpensively compared to sheetrock and carpet and all of the other stuff that, and of course, we have to give porters some kudos. They show up in a hurry and suck up. They've got the dry vacs. They get all the water out of there, and then we put the dehumidifiers in there, and it helps. But still, let's pray for no more rain.
And the last thing on my list is the downtown library. We're in the process of writing up the specifications to go out for bid, so to speak. It's called an SRP. That's where you put out, it's like a mini bid, and you ask for qualifications of architects. So once we put that out, we will be able to receive any architect that wants to bid on that downtown library job, which is very tricky because it's on the National Historic Register. And there's a lot of complicating factors, and there'll be a lot of visibility on that building, wanting us to put it back exactly with the same visual look. So I'll keep you apprised of our progress on that.
It has been very frustrating, we'll say that.
I can imagine. Okay. Last item is miscellaneous. Is there any miscellaneous items or comments from anyone? Okay, the next, yes, John.
I just want to say that since we've had this tragedy that happened Mr. Lewis, what is the policy?
Regarding,
When we lose a board member,
um,
what is the policy?
we will
Stop
contact,
the board.
since she's with the city, we contact the city and they will move forward with replacement for the rest of her, term, which is sad because she had just been reappointed.
What do we do? We do.
Oh, no, we, as a board, we normally would get together and at least send, some kind of flowers wreath or something of that nature. Yeah, we,
We take a look.
well, Kathy usually handles those,
Okay.
those details. She'll be back in time. If not, I'll take care of it.
Yes.
I was just gonna ask, Josephine, if she would will you let me know when they have if they have the ceremony? Okay.
And we'd all like to, yeah.
Since we're talking about it, she passed today in Baton Rouge. She's being transported home.
Have they go right?
She's going to Winfield, whatever, so we'll check with Winfield to see.
Very sad.
Okay, the next scheduled meeting is for November 23rd. Is that called that?
I was about to say, look at that, I think that is the Monday before Thanksgiving. Which I have no problems with.
No
So,
problem with it.
Because some people got a calendar.
that's what I was gonna say, check your calendar. We could always move it up to the 16th. No one ever wants to move it to the 30th, because that's the Monday after
That's
Thanksgiving.
bad.
What about the 16th, Jim?
For the following week.
Then we're into December, it'd be the 7th, which is not a problem either.
Well, but you were saying move it back to 16 November?
Yeah, I'd say move it up,
That's a Monday.
because we're gonna need the budget adjustment sooner than later. So moving it up to the 16th would be a good idea.
So,
Works for me. Make it along with 16th?
16th.
16th.
I mean,
16th is good.
Joe, it's okay for 16th.
Is that a Monday again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the next meeting will be November 16th, 2 o'clock,
Yep.
school services. If no other business, we have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
One?
Just one comment. I'd like to just make this comment because I know the whole board is genuinely concerned about the young people and their education and getting online. And it ties in with what you were saying about the internet service. I mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. I've been working with the Vice President of Governmental Affairs in Baton Rouge for the CenturyLink phone company. And they did raise all of the speeds in the Ida area. And we had 5 megabytes per second. They've raised everybody to anywhere from 50 to 80 megabytes per second. So now they can do their streaming, and they're not parked outside the library as much. They're going town by town now to see how fast and how quickly they can increase everyone's speed so that they can do the video streaming and get their homework done in a timely fashion. Because I've heard of a couple of cases where students were just unable to do their homework and have dropped out of school, and that's unfortunate. And so they are working on that. They work with their operations division to see what they can do about expediting the increased services to all the small areas.
Okay, we have a motion, a question? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn, is there a second?
I'll second.
Really, you did.
All in favor?
Aye.
The adjourn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board class on the way, any minute to look at the shattered glass issue.
We'll